So the child is adapted to the mother's presence and has been ever since birth if everything's gone well. So it's a place of security and stability, partly because the child knows how to act around the mother, but also partly because if the child encounters anything that he or she doesn't understand while in the presence of mother, the mother will instantly intervene to provide the knowledge necessary to encapsulate the unexpected occurrence. Okay, so the child's by the mother and maybe he's holding on, and that gives him ventral contact. It's comforting, it produces opiates, it decreases pain, it's directly comforting. And so then the child is maybe, they're shy and they're going to take a few looks at what's around first and start to, they're frozen, clinging to something secure, and then if nothing negative happens, they start to relax, just like a rat that's been put into a new cage. They start to relax, then they'll start to look. And that's the first manifestations of voluntary exploratory behavior. And maybe if there's other people around, they'll look and smile and then they'll hide, right? And the smile is an invitation to play or interact. But so it's a foray out into the world. Smile, eye contact, then hide. Maybe they'll do that multiple times and get a game going. That establishes something stable going on between them and the stranger. Does the stranger know how to play? And then maybe they'll loosen up and they'll start to explore. And then they go out away from the mother and start interacting with the world until something happens that overwhelms them. Then they'll run back, get a hug, maybe have a sleep because maybe they processed enough. And then you can encourage them to go back. And so what they're doing is they have the flag planted on an unknown territory. That's mom, the flag, right? They circulate around there because it's secure. Make forays outwards where the dragons are. Gather what's of interest, and if it's too much, they run back. And then the mom says, it's okay, no problem, you know, or gives them a little, you know, rock, or maybe feeds them something, and lets them have a little rest, and then off you go, play again, out they go again. And so what the child is doing is continually moving out, extending its explored territory into the unknown, just like the Star Trek Voyagers, and then moving back to security, and then moving out farther, and then moving back to security. And hopefully at some point they carry with them their own security once they become competent. Once you've incorporated all the competence of your parents, you don't need to go back. Well, and even if you do, it isn't going to help. You've transcended this security, and that's what makes you an adult. Hopefully that happens. So that's why the hero archetype is the central human story. It's because that's how we learn. It's an imagistic representation of the process by which we make sense out of the world. So of course it's redemptive because by definition that's the pattern we use to expand our competence in the world. How could it be anything other than redemptive? And it's tied in with here's how it's tied in with the idea of sacrifice. Every time you learn something, especially painfully, which really means you learned it, there's a bunch of things that you already knew that you had to let go of because they're wrong. And so there's no learning without sacrifice. And now that means is that there's no learning without the retooling of structures that you've already been using. And that's because you actually have a complete map of the world, always. But it's low resolution. It's low resolution. And then if you go out there and into a particular area that you've only mapped in a low resolution way, you'll learn details that force you to update the low resolution representation. And sometimes that can mean abandoning whole pieces of it because they're just wrong. So when you go out and you encounter something new, it always means the demolition of parts of you that are still unformed and incomplete. And so there's a sacrificial element to exploration. And that's partly why people don't like to talk to people who have ideas that are different than theirs. Because you might think, well, sure, we differ, why can't we just talk? If you know things I don't, all the better. But no, if you know something I really don't know, it's going to challenge something I already presume. And if it really challenges, it will disintegrate, and I'll do a little trip into the underworld before I can restructure myself. And if you really challenge me, it might be an almost complete dissolution. So who wants that? Well, here's how you want that. The only circumstance under which you will want that is if you know that the alternative is worse. Continual small updates differentiate you and make you strong. You shy away from that, your map stays low resolution, and you make yourself weak because you're not practicing that process of letting go and transforming, and letting go and transforming, because you want to become a master at that. You don't want to be a master at guarding your territory, even though that's extraordinarily useful. You want to become a master of taking the walls apart and extending them and building them up, and taking the walls apart and extending them and building them up. And that, because you'll never run out of utility for that. And that can mean that the unknown becomes something that's your friend instead of your enemy. And that would be a wonderful thing, because of course people respond to the unknown as if it's their terrible enemy. It's like, don't be so sure about that. What you know might be your enemy. What you don't yet know might be the best friend you have. And it's highly probable, because what do you know? And there's an infinite number of things you don't know. So you might as well make friends with them. And then you also start to understand that you are precisely the thing that can move into the unknown as if it's welcoming and grow and develop as a consequence. And that makes you a much different thing than the thing that has to be terrified of everything it doesn't understand. You're just in a permanent state of existential horror under those conditions. And you're dangerous to other people too, especially if they don't agree with you.